A Long Walk to Water. Background. Part 1. Sudan and South Sudan. The country of Sudan in Africa was once much larger than it is today. In 2011, the southern part became an independent country and is now known as the Republic of South Sudan, or to most people simply as South Sudan. The novel A Long Walk to Water is based on events that occurred in Sudan between 1985 and 2009. The book is classified as historical fiction, and Salva's story is actually based on the experiences of a real young boy named Salva Dutt who lived through a horrendous time in history. He eventually moved to the United States. The other story in the novel, told from the viewpoint of a character, Naya, is fictional. Author Linda Sue Park created Naya as a composite of the typical girls who lived in the region in the early 21st century. Sudan, before 2011, was a large country in eastern Africa, surrounded by other nations including Egypt to the north and Ethiopia to the west, and Kenya to the southeast. For over a century, it had included what is now South Sudan within its borders. Being in the northern part of the continent, Sudan has been influenced by Arab countries, most having converted to Islam and speaking Arabic, and by cultures of the Mediterranean nations. This was particularly true in the northern part of the country. The southern area had remained more traditionally African, worshiping the traditional ways and fewer converts to Islam. Most people still use their African dialects, of which there were many. The Nile River, the longest in Africa, was an important international waterway in the past and remains so today in Sudan and South Sudan and other nearby countries as well. The portion of the river known as the White Nile is important to South Sudan. The other notable geographic feature is the Sud, a large swampy area that dominates a large area. For many centuries, Sudan, in the past known as Nubia, was under control of Egyptians. Over the centuries, there were many power struggles for the control of the region, with fighting among Muslims and Christians and followers of traditional regions, and between those of Arab ancestry and of black Africans. In 1882, to stabilize the region, the dominant world power at the time, they had other colonies in Africa, took control and ruled over the area on equal footing with the Egyptians. This map of Sudan. This map shows modern Sudan, and with South Sudan to the south. The capital of Sudan is Khartoum. As the 20th century progressed, many overseas colonies gained their independence from Britain and other European powers. Sudan became independent in 1956, but within 6 years, civil war had broken out in the southern area of the country. The two regions were just so different in so many ways that they could not find a common ground. The last decades of the 20th century and the first decades of the 21st century saw governments overthrown, general unrest, and outright civil war. This photo taken in 2019 shows two young boys of the Mandori tribe tending cattle in South Sudan, as Salva Dutt had done in 1985. After many years of turmoil in 2009, those in charge agreed to hold a referendum in the southern area of Sudan within 2 years. In January of 2011, a vote was held, and the majority of people in South Sudan voted for independence, and this was granted in July, though some border areas were in dispute. Both Sudan and South Sudan wanted control of the region of Abyei, and people in Sudan were not happy about losing valuable oil revenue after South Sudan was granted its independence. South Sudan is now a sovereign nation, but the country still suffers from instability. After centuries of being controlled by others, running a new country can be a challenge. As South Sudan faces the future, its people hope for peace and prosperity for its millions of citizens. The map to the right in the lighter area shows the modern country of South Sudan. Juba is the capital city. In the south central portion and in the northwest of Juba is Salvadut's hometown of Loon Arik. The large swampy area of the country, known as Sud, is east of Loon Arik, and even further east, the country of Ethiopia, and to the southeast, Kenya. The town of Akobu and Akobu Desert are important physical features that play a part in a long walk to water, as the Gilo River and the other side of the desert in Ethiopia. Both the desert and the river were barriers to reaching safety in Ethiopia and Kenya for the hundreds escaping civil war in the 1980s.